I struggled with PTSD for a long time. A lot of depression, a lot of opiates, a lot of everything else they were prescribing me, and I felt myself lost for about a decade, and I really couldn't come out of the funk. And fortunately, unfortunately, I was the only Navy SEAL that was dealing with that shit, the only one. And when it got really, really bad, like so bad you can't take another day of it, you guys made an infomercial about the psychedelic treatment and how much it saved you. In the raw transparency that you both showed, it changed my life.
So, psychedelics in our society have such kind of a hippy-dippy connotation, which often runs completely counter to the squared-away military man or woman. Tell us a bit about when you realized psychedelics might be an option for you, and what was your initial reaction?
I don't know if doing psychedelics is going to do anything for me. I never did them growing up. I joined the Navy at 17, so I never got to experiment with any kind of psychedelics, and it was so foo-foo in my mind that I just never would I think about going to Mexico and doing psychedelics.
It was still 2017, and it was still a little unknown, and I'll call it a little bit weird. And I was scared to death to even talk about this because I was still working in banking. What are people going to think? Am I going to get fired? Are people going to think I'm weird? And we're sitting in this funeral home, and I'm just thinking, if we don't talk about this, we're going to be back in here.
I mean, I've known Marcus for over 20 years, and to see how he was and now how he is now, he's such a better version, a more controllable version, but it's that same guy that I knew the entire time, just more refined, more well-rounded. He was still that hunter, still that warrior class of people, but now it was controllable. I really want that, man. And, we went in hook, line, and sinker, went down to Mexico, and it changed everything for me.
Can you kind of walk us through that first time you did it? What were you ingesting? How were you ingesting it? How long did it last? And kind of what the kind of clinical environment was for it?
Very much a clinical setting, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels very organic, very natural. And when you lay back, that medicine takes a hold of you, and it's so powerful, you can't believe it's happening. It's such an intense experience. It's probably the first time, I know for me and for everybody else, you've never felt anything like that before. And when you come out of the medicine, I mean, we take it at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you don't really come out of the medicine until noon the next day, and then you sleep all day long. Kind of processing, you wake up, you have a little bit to eat, and you go straight into integration. All the people that did the medicine with you, you're sitting around, you're sharing everything that came up. And the things that come up in those journeys are not what you thought it would be. I thought I'd be in a black helicopter, I'd be at Arlington, I'd be burying friends, and it wasn't any of that. It was childhood trauma, issues with my relationship with my wife, with my kids. It was a bunch of internal stuff I was struggling with that I had buried down so deep that I didn't know that was actually what was affecting me.
Psychedelics been around for thousands of years. They were never recreational drugs thousands of years ago when they were used in these cultures to cure people from their mental health, their physical health, rites of passage. We kind of lost our way a bit in the 60s where they were abused as recreational drugs. However, the thousands and thousands of clinical trials and journals that were written on psychedelic treatments for mental health was never forgotten. And the government shut it down in 1970 because there was a lot going on, right? We had the Vietnam War, we had the war on drugs, and so this is the quickest way to shut it down. But now we're back, and now we have literally today, over 300 clinical trials worldwide on psychedelic therapy for depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, ADD, alcohol use disorder, opioid use disorder. So this is the future of mental health care as a tool.
The federal government's kind of, as I understand it, kind of put a halt into psychedelics research for mental health. Are you hoping that'll change? Do you see any indication? And what do you think it'll take to change that, to get that to folks who need it, not only veterans, but also, civilian America?
We actually went to the Capitol and tried to do some fundraising with a bunch of congressmen and senators and stuff like that. And ultimately what I told them at the panel, I was like, the wrong people are committing suicide. As soon as it happens to you, you're going to stop and you're going to make this happen.
Thanks.
As soon as you have somebody you know that's truly suffering, when you're high school quarterback, All-American, joins the Marine Corps, and you watch his struggle and his decline, and then you see him get better through this treatment, you'll start to back and support it. And ultimately, that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need more people to get better, more people to shout it from the rooftops and let the world know that this is a viable solution that will save thousands of people.
Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for sharing our story. We're really glad
Thank you
to
so
hear
much
about
for
your
having me
journey.
out. No.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon on the floor here.